take a moment to reflect on how you feel when it's time to negotiate a deal or when it's time for you to ask for the business. Now, you might be quite confident and filled with conviction and certainty around that whole process, and kudos to you. You may also be somebody, or rather, you may be somebody who gets extremely nervous, feels very awkward. And that I'm going to swing back to an internal story you're telling yourself. And in doing so, I want you to consider when you do feel that kind of tense and you tighten up, I want you to consider who you're making that whole scenario about, because chances are you're making it about yourself. So I'm going to give you permission, or give yourself permission and get you to loosen up a little bit. And how we're going to do that is by encouraging you to listen up. And what I want you to do is I want you to be conscious that there's another level of questions that we need to go to in order to elicit what really matters to the buyer. And that is taking the conversations just that little bit deeper, because we can't play on the surface all the time. So we've got to bring our conversations deeper. And one thing to consider when you're doing that is to understand that the decision-making process that your buyer is going through, it doesn't matter if it's at the beginning of the sales conversation, the middle, or the end, is based around what's important to them, not just as a business, but to them as an individual. And that taps into their values. That taps into what is most important to them and what must have to happen in order for them to experience that emotional value outcome that they want, because all our values are emotional. We don't buy a house because of the bricks and the mortar and the tiling. We buy it because it gives us security. We don't travel around the world, just to sit on an airplane and kind of have our passport stamped. No, we do it because of the freedom that it gives us. So value and security in these two instances, freedom and security in these two instances are values. So we need to tap into what are the values of our buyer and what do they think must have to happen. And so identifying, priority is all part of this coach approach that we have. When you can approach a conversation from this aspect, you make it about the other person. And that is a fundamental tenet of coaching, is that you leave yourself out of the story completely. And it's all about eliciting your buyer's story. And that is what I think salespeople need to learn more around, how to approach the sale from a coach approach rather than a selling approach of old. So on that note, get very clear on perhaps what your values are to start with and what must have to happen for your values to be experienced. And that might be a part the way of you being able to stop playing in the shallows when it comes to not taking your buyer conversations to a deeper level, because that really is part of the real buyer's journey. So on that note, loosen up and listen up. Have an amazing day, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.